Olivia Parker, who is the executive director of Family Kitchen. Their mission is to provide nutritious meals to anyone in need in a safe and caring environment. She is a professional in the world of nonprofits, most recently with the Oregon State University Foundation, and she spent much of her career with food banks across the country. With that, I give you Olivia.
Thank you. A couple of things before I get started. Am I talking into my microphone? One, I'm a platypus. I can't get into the ducks versus beeves conversation. Two, if you have not done a bed build day with Sleep in Heavenly Peace and you are able to that day, they are so much fun. Highly recommend it. Joe is a member of my Rotary Club, and they are like the funnest volunteer opportunity. I say as I'm about to talk about my organization's volunteer opportunities. How many of you are familiar with Family Kitchen? Okay. I will give you a little bit of our history. Family Kitchen was founded in 1986 by a group of women from the Trinity Episcopal Church when the mills started closing in town. They were seeing families going in need, and they wanted to do something to help those folks. Unfortunately, that need still exists, right? It's no longer the same mill issue, but we have only seen our diners increase over the years. Last year, we distributed a little under 250,000 meals in Central Oregon. So if you think about that, that's a lot of food, right? That's a lot of folks in our community that don't have access to a meal on a regular daily basis. We do that in a number of ways. So I'll talk a little bit about our different locations. Family Kitchen, as of right now, serves Bend, Sisters, and Redmond. In Sisters, we serve meals one night a week from the Sisters Community Church. They let us use their church. We serve meals on Tuesday nights, and it's a drive-through style, so folks can drive through, they can walk through, they can bike through. And then we have a couple of volunteers who come to the Sisters location on Tuesdays and take a solid number of to-go meals and take them out to the folks that are living in Deschutes National Forest. Our biggest location is our operation in Bend. Have any of you ever volunteered at the kitchen in Bend? No one. Okay. In Bend, we are open 7 days a week, 365 days a year. We do not close for holidays. We do not close for anything. We have never missed a meal. We serve between 50 and 250 people every single day. Wow. A lot of food, right? We purchase the vast majority of our food because of the bulk quantity of food we are preparing, right? If you're cooking for 250 people, it's really hard to depend on donated individual cans to meet that need. We do take in some donations. We have a number of local businesses, restaurants who donate bulk food to us, which we so appreciate. The other way that we get food to folks in need is through our network of partners. So in Bend and in Redmond, we work with a network of partners who share similar missions to ours. They serve similar populations to ours, and we cook food for them, and then they distribute it out. So I talk about Family Kitchen as the prepared food provider for the Central Oregon Hunger Network, right? If you're familiar with the Giving Plate or other pantries in town, they're giving food to folks who, likely have a kitchen, likely have some area or space where they can cook. Most of the folks we provide to don't have access to that. We in Bend work with a number of partners. We have been the sole food provider for the shelter, for Shepherd's House, the shelter that they run. They have just recently gotten their kitchen up and running and will be taking over all of their food preparation, which is exciting for us because we'll be able to expand new partners. We also have our kitchen up here in Redmond. We work out of Mountain View Fellowship, who runs Mountain View Community Development. If you are not familiar with their work, they are doing outstanding work for the community up here in Redmond. I wanted to specifically talk to you about some Redmond stats. So in April, our Redmond location served over 1,500 meals. The kitchen in Redmond is primarily a prep kitchen. So we don't do an in-person meal service up here in Redmond. That's a possible future project we've been thinking about. And if that ever becomes a reality, I will absolutely be calling on folks like you for more volunteer opportunities. As of right now, though, our kitchen in Redmond does have volunteer opportunities every day of the week except for Sunday. I think maybe it's except for Saturday. Sunday mornings, we do burrito prep. And we, in our Redmond location, we work with a network of partners. So we work with Jericho Road, who y'all also volunteer with, which is outstanding. We work with the safe parking programs up here in Redmond. Are y'all familiar with safe parking? Good. Yeah, safe parking is one of the cheapest, quickest, and easiest way for us to get folks off the streets, which is really outstanding. And Redmond is like a rock star city in terms of safe parking and developing those programs. We work with Redmond Collective Action, and then we also work with Oasis Villages, which is a network of tiny homes up here in Redmond. We are a zero barrier nonprofit. What that means is specifically for our in-person dining in Bend, if you walk through our doors, we feed you. We don't ask you your name. We don't ask you your living situation. We don't ask you how much money you make. We put trust in our diners. We put dignity in our diners by not making them fill out paperwork, by not making them have to prove that they're in need of a meal. And we do that by being no barrier. That's pretty rare in the nonprofit world to be a no barrier organization. It has its pros and cons. It's really hard to collect diner data, right? We can see the people that we serve, and we know we serve folks of all races, all genders, all ages. But, we don't collect that data on folks, which makes it hard to apply for grants, makes it hard to do some other fundraising type things. Family Kitchen runs on small donations from our community. We work with local businesses, congregations, religious organizations, and individuals all across Central Oregon to keep us up and running. Our budget is just under $1 million a year. And very, very, very little of that comes from, grants and other large donations. Any questions about Family Kitchen or the work that we do?
So you said 1,500 meals served in April out of Mountain View.
Yes.
But some of those meals then go to Jericho Table.
Yes, so all of those meals are going to these four organizations and then being distributed out through their network.
Okay.
Oh, could you talk about Jill at the Redmond one? Is she still there?
So Trish is now our kitchen manager up in Redmond. She's amazing. She has worked in middle schools doing the food service and preparation for middle schools for about 20 years before we pulled her away. She is outstanding. She does all of our food ordering for Redmond, all of our meal planning for Redmond. She's really dialed into the community, which is nice. She talks to the folks who are going places like Jericho Road and Redmond Collective Action to see what kind of food people like, right? It's one thing to be able to put meals together and provide them to folks, but if people don't like them, right, what's the point? She told me a story about they did, I don't know if y'all have seen like the baked taco fad. Lots of people are into baked tacos. She tried to do a baked taco meal and somebody came to her kitchen the next day and said, they fell apart. They all fell apart. No more baked tacos. So no more baked tacos. So we try to stay in contact. We try to get feedback from our folks, right, to make sure we're making food that they like to eat, that families like to eat. At our location in Bend, where we do in-person dining, we try to offer our diners a choice in what they can eat, right? We don't have a menu, right? You don't come in and say, oh, do I want the steak or the chicken, right? We have an item that is generally our featured dish of the night. We always have some sandwiches on hand. We have some soups on hand. But if we do, I'll give you an example. We do like a Euro bowl. It's on our Greek night. It's very delicious. Everything is kind of build your own. So folks get to decide what they want in their meal and what they might not like. We do that for a couple of reasons. One, food waste, right? If you think cilantro tastes like soap and we put it all over your dinner, you're going to throw it away, right? You're not going to want to eat that. The second is the vast majority of the people that we serve get to make zero choices in their day-to-day. They don't get to choose where they sleep. They don't get to choose when they eat, right? This is the one time that they can come up and make a request. We also, if folks ask for more, we give them more. If folks don't want something or they want extra of something else, we do that. So we really try to, instill dignity in our food service for folks who don't get a lot of that in their day-to-days. Other questions?
Olivia, how many volunteers do you have countywide?
Yes, that's a great question. Family Kitchen has a network of over 500 volunteers. And I would say in December of last year, we changed volunteer systems. Nightmare, everybody, nobody likes change. We already have over 500 people signed up in our new system, meaning in the last 6 months, they've actively had to go in and make that change and opt in to continue volunteering. So, we don't have a lack of volunteers. There are days that, nobody signs up to volunteer, and we gotta rally and get folks to come in. But I would bet many of you are on our volunteer list and may get our volunteer newsletter if you volunteered before. I do have a sheet in the back if you're interested before you leave. If you're not on that list and you'd like to put your email down, we can put you on our volunteer newsletter. That doesn't mean you're committed to our shifts or anything, but you can see what's happening, see what's coming up. And if you want to volunteer, you can sign up that way. Like I said, we have options 6 days a week up here in Redmond. For those of you that either maybe live or work in Bend, if you ever wanted to do a big group volunteer opportunity, we can definitely accommodate that down in our Bend location. Or if any of you live in Sisters, you can volunteer out in Sisters on Tuesday nights. Other questions?
How big is your staff?
How big is our staff? We are a staff of 8, with 5 of those being part-time. Very part-time. So we spend money on 2 things: food and our people, right? We don't, pay our staff a crazy amount of money, but they're doing hard work, right? Our staff are kitchen workers, our staff are volunteer coordinators, our staff are social workers and, diner engagement folks, right? Our staff spend hours of their day working one-on-one with diners to figure out what they need, connecting them with resources. It's a heavy job, right? And it's a heavy job for someone who may have seen the job posting and thought, I've worked in a kitchen before, right? It's a very different experience, but we have a very dedicated staff. I'm very impressed with all of them. They're very optimistic young folks who really want to make a difference in our community. And so we try to treat them well while still, being a good steward of the funds that we get as a nonprofit. Yeah. Any other questions?
Thank you.
Yeah, well, that is all I have. I do have a stack of business cards. If anybody wants my information to chat about anything. One other thing I just wanted to say is ways that you all in your personal lives or as a club could possibly help. Obviously volunteering, right? We have volunteer opportunities out the wazoo. Like I said, in Bend, big groups can come and volunteer. You could all volunteer as a club or with your workplace or with your families. We allow kids as young as 8 to come volunteer, which is pretty rare, as long as they are with a guardian chaperone, they can come in. And then the other thing is we are always looking for, local community organizations to possibly partner with. Looking at growing our partnerships across Central Oregon. If you, work at a nonprofit and might want to partner, we're interested. Or if you have a small business or a local business and you might ever be interested in sponsoring a meal or sponsoring an event, I'd love to talk with you more. So I have a stack of business cards, and then I also have a list if you want to sign your email up to volunteer. Thank you all for having me.
Yes, in a picture.
Oh, thank you.
As they're taking their picture, I just want to say something about the food insecurity in our area. As I transferred from president to past president, I looked at our